And what is Guru or who is Guru? The conscience within you is the Guru. The one that guides you. The one that enlightens you. As such, there is a Guru in everybody.
Guru Om, Satya Guru, Guru Om, Guru Om, Guru Om, Prema Guru, Guru Om. In this place I hold the truth. In your shelter, sanctuary, Guru Om, Guru Om, Guru Sachidananda, Guru Om, Guru Om, Guru Om, Guru Om, Guru Om, Guru Sachidananda, Guru Om.
Love is the willingness to recognize that which is real. An easy way to practice it is look at something and just say, I see you. I see you, 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 I see you. Each time you look at something, just mentally, I see you, I see you, I see you. And just realize that you're practicing love in that moment. The willingness to recognize that which is real. And be able to just let that sentence roll off, whatever it rolls off, your tongue. I see you. That's one of the best little homeworks. Again, it's easy. I mean, you're seeing them. But when you see, then it's like, oh, yeah, I'm seeing you. Oh, that's what that means. And when you're doing that, then you're bypassing your normal commentary, your normal quick assessment. This is important. It's like, it's so basic and everyone knows it, but it's, again, it's the thing to actually really be doing. Don't just get it right on the test. But actually, the reason that everyone's always talking about this is because this is how you begin to get hip to what's true. The all being all. God, the one, being the many. And again, that's like a short, easy phrase to just have, to know. So I see you, I see you, I see you. And do the homework as a reminder to just hang in there for a nanosecond longer than normal in order to sort of see a little bit. And if you're brave, in your mind, at least, say, and I love you. With the understanding that love means the recognition of that which is real. That doesn't mean you have to get married. Just keep it clean like that. I love you. I'm willing to recognize that which is true. If you're willing to say, I see you, then yeah, you are loving. So get hip to that. Uh-oh, that's what's happening. So that you're not at war with the word love. You're not afraid of the word love. It's the thing to practice. Not by having ideas in advance about how a loving person would be, but just being willing to be clean in the now. And what that'll feel like is relaxed and quiet-minded. Not a big deal, seemingly. So I see you and I love you. I see you and I love you. Look at a telephone pole. Look at a stop sign. I see you and I love you. It'll appreciate it. Look at the homeless guy. Look at the millionaire, without your normal commentary. So now would be a good time to do questions, but before we do, why don't we just sit for a minute or two and sort of practice conscious immobility. And again, it's not about not moving. It's about being so relaxed that you don't move. And whenever you want, you can move. I shift all the time, but then and then just sort of be attentive to the experience you're having. You're in the middle of the ultimate. You're in the middle of reality, thinking that you're in a temporary world on the way to somewhere better. But no, you're in the middle of the ultimate. There's no place else you could be. Oh. So I would vote that during the meditations, like whenever you sit down or lie down to meditate, and you can lie down if you would prefer, it's legal. But always be sort of leisurely and always start with step number 1. Step number 1 is get the alignment of your body just right so that you're comfortable, so that you can comfortably settle into conscious immobility. And so like right now, like watch what you're doing to get yourself comfortable. You did something already. Start watching what you're doing. Especially if you're a teacher, watch all the subtle little spontaneous movements that you make. That's the stuff you want to start talking about. Watch what you're doing to get the alignment just right so that you're comfortable. Snuggle your seat into the floor. Let your spine grow up. Let the crown chakra just bloom open. The top of your head just bloom open. And then relax down through your body. And let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. and get as tension free as you can be. And then just gently bring your attention to the sensation of moving air in your nose. Notice how the sensation in your nose is always changing, but it's always something. Be aware of the sounds in the room. Notice how they're always changing. But they're always something. And just sort of get the sense that you, as the observer of it all, are just sort of sitting back, watching it all. Not changing. Go back to the sensation in your nose and just savor the fragrance. See if there's a subtle, mystical fragrance in the air. And just every once in a while, practice breathing like this, just normal, super soft, relaxed, effortless breathing, but with more appreciation of the event. Your turn.
Guru Om, Bhakti Guru, Guru Om, Guru Om.
You will have preferences for sure. Nothing wrong with that. But sort of the trick on it, just where I'm at with this, is you prefer the Google. You prefer to no longer make up your own mind. Make up your own mind to no longer make up your own mind and just always Google the answer. Because you realize that your current level of ignorance, whatever it prefers, is probably will manifest more current ignorance. And therefore, let your preference be, so like not to diss preferences totally, but let your preference be, oh, I'd rather know what God would have me do, in easy, quick words. Not everyone likes saying it like that, but it is a good way to say it. Google it. That's the preference. The other clue, though, and I hope this makes sense, but the infinite mind, consciousness, the all is all. The infinite is infinite, which means that there's nothing other than the infinite to be in conflict with, which means that the feeling tone of infinity is calm, is peace. One of my favorite lines from Ramana Maharshi is, calm is higher than ecstasy. And ecstasy is pretty good. But calm is not like a lower energy, it's actually a higher, unconflicted state. Therefore, the more you meditate and you learn to relax and you slide into the feeling of calm, that's what helps make you congruent with the intuitive voice. When you get a clear inner knowing, it won't have a lot of excitement about it typically. It'll just be this calm inner knowing. So that's a clue. Meditate a lot. Do the holy instant a lot. Whenever it occurs to you, just relax and just like let the tension melt out of your form. Because when you do that, then the intuitive voice will gush through you, and it'll just feel like you feeling energized to do this rather than that. That's sort of the best I've got about this, I think. But these practices really help. Doing the asana practice really helps. It helps erase the tension out of your form. The more it erases the tension out of your form, then the guidance is going to just gush through you more freely. You'll feel it better. And you'll just you'll know what to do, and it won't be like a head trip. But often, I'll ask for guidance, and I think I'm following it, and then I hit a dead end, and I think, this doesn't work. But at that point, do it again. And the next point, do it again. Just the more you do it, the better the connection gets. Just ask for guidance, ask for guidance, ask for guidance. If you have a favorite awakened one, talk to them. If someone that you don't even know pops into your mind a lot or that you have an affinity for, talk to them. An awakened one is just somebody who's online all the time. And by you talking to them, it helps you stay online.
Guru Om, Bhakti Guru.
The edginess, I think, is that you're expanding the boundaries of your understanding. You're nudging up against the edges of your current level of ignorance. And you know there's more, and you know you don't know, but therefore I'm a fraud. How can I be teaching this stuff? But it's like you're learning. It's sort of like you learning is, to those who are watching, will be a big lesson in itself. You won't even know that that's the lesson that's coming across, except, wow, this guy, it's like he doesn't, he's being brave enough to trust into this. Yes, it's the thing you go through. And then increasingly, though, is the only thing that's fraudulent about you is the misperceptions that you believe about who you are. And that's huge. Like, you're really real, really. Everything is really real, really. We're in the middle of reality, really. We're not in a fake world, really. And so you don't have to get rid of your fraudulent nature, but learn to shut up is like the quick way to get it. Silent-mind it. Because then you're not energizing your fraudulent self-identity. And when you're not energizing your fraudulent current level of ignorance, and that's my favorite phrase, I think, then what's really real begins to dawn on you more and more and more. The ego is a fraud, but you're not the ego. Whoa. You are the holy son or daughter of the life principle. Really? Who's confused about it? But it doesn't change the fact you're still the holy son or daughter of the life principle. Oh. And it's not egotistical to say that. And so not only are you the holy son or daughter of the life principle God, you're not only the son or daughter, you are actually the self-expression of God. You know what I mean? God is all there is of you. You're not God in terms of prime mover. You didn't create this whole thing, but you are nothing but Godness. And when you believe something else, because other people told you, you believed it, Mom said this, Dad said that, I don't know. They know. Teachers at school, friends in kindergarten. And because the deepest part of you knows what's true. When you start believing something that's not actually true, it feels fraudulent. And that's sort of the cool little switch on it. Therefore, whenever you feel like you're being a fraud, let that be the clue. Oh, I'm bumping up against the curb. I'm believing something that's not true. Let me reassess. Oh yeah, we drive on the right side of the road here. Oh yeah, I'm not fraud. I'm holy son or daughter of the all. It's not egotistical to say that. At first it seemed like that would be the height of ego, that you're God in specific self-expression. But it's actually the most egoless you could be. And it's true already, and you had nothing to do with it. Oh. And you'll have insight into it. It'll feel like, oh yeah, I knew that, come on. And then someone will say something, or whatever, and you go back. And it's just it feels like lifetimes of that. So let the fraudulent feeling be feedback to just reassess. And you don't have to fake yourself into the new perspective. Just stop energizing the old one. And again, that's cool. You don't have to regurgitate the new one. Just stop resuscitating the old one. And what's really true will start having ascendancy. And then if you just sort of relax and let it soak in, and then start seeing from that state more, so that you start being the place where you, instead of seeing a world of frauds, you start seeing sons and daughters of the life principle everywhere. That'll help keep it alive in you. So what I would suggest is practice more on your own, but then realize that all the time, wherever you are is the place to be having your GPS active. And that's the more important practice. It is fun, though, to be involved with this. It's such a cool subject. It's a cool way to live. I started yoga when I was 12 or 13, 14, somewhere there. And I still feel like I'm totally learning. Which is cool, as it turns out. Back then, I would have thought, wow, when you're 85, you're still learning. You haven't learned it yet? But yeah, just always learning. Is there anything else right now? Mm-hmm. It's easy. Just sort of put the comma in there. Just put the comma in your commentary. People will think you're slightly off, but you'll know. Why is he so slow? But it is harder in conversations with people. So, but you got to be able to do it there. Therefore, practice where it's easy. That's sort of like the trick on all of this. Do it where you can. Pet Bella, love, where it's easy. Practice pausing with like-minded friends. Practice pausing in bed. Practice it just for short durations. It's sort of like you're watching TV, just hit the mute button during the commercials. It's sort of like that. Just sort of like pause frequently, just silent-minded frequently. Knowing that when you do, you don't become dumber, you actually access universal wisdom more. And it's not going to be so wisdomy that it doesn't seem pertinent. It'll just feel like common sense. And then it makes sense. Oh yeah, of course it's just common sense. It's the sense of the oneness. Again, duh.
Guru Om Bhakti Guru Guru Om Guru Om Guru Om Shanti.
Yeah,
It's the fourth bullet point.
yeah, It's the be brave part.
The be brave part.
Relax, love, trust, and then be brave, which is multiple. Again, like this is a good concrete example of it. And it's just like, for me, it's just like, at a certain point, it's just like, it felt like I was a fake to not be teaching what I thought I should be teaching. I mean, to what was wanting to come through. So at a certain point, it just, the uncomfortableness of not being honest caused me to be more honest. And at that point, I sort of didn't care if Susan didn't like it. Because at that point, I knew it was sort of where all the training was leading. Yeah, and if you get this, you'll dig it. And so at a certain point, you just gotta be true to you. I don't know. But that was a good example of that. I was selling out for those couple of years, doing what I thought everybody would like the most based on what they were saying. And it seemed to sort of, yeah, it was legitimate. Like I felt the same way, you know. At a certain point, I would have felt ripped off if the teacher wasn't teaching. But then I realized, wow, I'm teaching this now, which my other teachers weren't teaching. Oh, I don't have to keep teaching the way I was taught. Just keep teaching the new thing. And it felt risky, but it felt so deeply right. And I did care whether people liked it. And so I kept it small at first. And I kept sort of harping about its value, like talking about it. Yeah, discipline will dissolve, it'll, your practice will evolve into free form. It'll become intuitive. That's the point of all the human teaching. The point of all the human teaching is to help you be online so that you're channeling it. That became clear. And when I was first learning all this, nobody was saying that. It was more like, do this pattern, this is how you do it. And at a certain point, I really liked that. Because there was no confusion about what to do. If someone had said, just do exactly what you feel like, I would have taken another nap. So something in that realm. It felt like I was being a fake, not teaching what I was learning was the cooler thing. And yet you sort of gotta lure your people. You gotta convince them. You gotta be consistent about it. At first, I wasn't clear enough to say, start with something that you know. See, now I think that's a cool way to say it. Because, people know things and they can just start with, I do it like this. But if you teach them that, out of that pattern, there's options and choices at each main variable. And your job actually is to not just always do it the way you were taught. That's what you were saying. But to actually, at each main variable, maneuver the options and choices so that it always feels right. Then you start feeling like you're doing your yoga.
Guru Om, Bhakti Guru.
I studied with Iyengar for a long time. I loved Iyengar. I still love Iyengar. He's a very interesting man, and he was a brilliant teacher, brilliant practitioner.
They love you too.
Thank you, yeah. And when I was in India, I asked him, can I just come in the morning and watch you practice? I'll just sit over there in the corner, be sort of invisible. And it was fun to watch the real thing. It was different than how he taught, which was interesting. Like a big point, actually. And you learn a lot just by watching someone do the real thing. You learn a lot by going to class and doing what they say, but when you watch the artist do it for real, you pick up on stuff that you don't even know you're picking up on. They're communicating stuff that they don't even know that they're communicating. Their whole presence is transmitting the art. So I watched him every morning for a couple hours. That was fun. And in class, he was stickler's not the right word, but he's big on alignment. And he would say things like, okay, as you're stretching your arm, move that skin that way. And I would do what I thought he was talking about. I would move that skin that way. And interestingly enough, as I did that, I would get this subtle little feeling of rightness. And I thought, wow, where did he come up with that? And I'd run back to my room and write down, move that skin that away. The next class he'd say, as you're moving that skin that away, rotate that skin that away, or move the hairs on your arm, or move the freckle clockwise. It was interesting the way he talked. I had no idea why he was saying to do it though. But I was there to learn. He was the teacher. You do what he says, or else. And as I was moving that skin that away, again, there was a subtle little ding, a little feeling of brightness. And again, damn, where did he come up with that? His teacher wasn't teaching him that. Run back to my room, write it down. And I've got notebooks full of this stuff. How to move this skin, that hair, this skin, rotate this. Loved it. Very precise. Finally, I met a man named Joel Kramer. Have you heard of Joel Kramer? He wrote an article in Yoga Journal at some point, and I remember reading it and thinking, God, that's the best mixture of yoga and Krishnamurti I've ever seen. I was a big Krishnamurti student. I thought, wow, I got to meet this guy. And I was living at the Krishnamurti school at that point. So I wrote Joel a letter. I said, I would love to meet you. And he said, well, I'd like to meet Krishnamurti. How about if I come to England and you introduce me to Krishnamurti and I'll give you some private yoga lessons? And I thought, yeah, cool. So I met with Joel. He taught me how to make a line of energy through my arm. And within 5 minutes of that first class, that first private lesson with him, my yoga was turned inside out. And it's weird to be teaching in a place, teaching one way for years, and then suddenly, going in there and being totally different. Felt like a fraud or whatever. But what's interesting about Joel teaching me how to do the line of energy is basically you just sort of run energy down to your arm and you look for the feeling of perfect flow. And as I was doing that, suddenly it was ding, 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 ding. All the stuff that Iyengar had been talking about started happening without me having to think about it. And then I got it. Wow, that's what Iyengar's doing. He didn't learn it from his teacher. He's being taught from within. He's being guided from within. It's like the energy is telling him how to do the alignment. And then I realized, oh yeah, it's move that skin, it's do this, but it's also this, it's also this. I could say my own things, but it wasn't about the things. It was more about flowing the energy and looking for the feeling of perfect flow. And when I started getting that, I ditched all the details because it wasn't about the details. And I would go into class and say, yeah, just run energy through the mind. You'll really dig it. And some people were ripe and they'd light up and you could see it. And most people were like, but what am I supposed to do? And I didn't want to go back down the levels, but I realized that as a teacher, if someone's not getting it, if you don't get run energy through the line, look for the feeling of perfect flow, let it self-correct, if that's not making sense, then you got to bring it down. Tighten, rotate, spread, breathe. Knowing that if they do that and they get into it and get into it and get into it, you can know that the energy at a certain point will take over. So then I started being okay about talking at different levels, but knowing that, wow, you really want to get to the place where it's like just the energy's guiding you. And then it's like, oh yeah, of course, yeah. It's intuitive practice. It's free form. And the discipline helps sensitize you so that you can do that. Therefore, all the steps have their place. At first I was dissing the discipline, and then I realized, oh no, that's valuable. If someone doesn't know how to get their feet straight, they're just sort of like, they're not in there. You teach them how to do that. You know that's not really what it's about. But it's like, if they're doing that and they're embodying this and they're embodying this, they're paying attention, they're in there. And if they get in there and in there and in there, at a certain point, especially if you give them the freedom, especially if you tell them that, wow, all the discipline is supposed to dissolve and become intuitive, then they'll start doing their yoga. And it wasn't until I got this that I started feeling like I was doing my yoga. Up until that point, I was doing Desigachara yoga, I was doing Iyengar yoga, Vonda Scarabelli yoga, this, somebody's yoga. And I loved it. I loved it. But it almost felt like I was doing somebody else's practice, really. And then, oh, this is what it's about. And so as a teacher, you just want to help foster that to the best of your ability. And so I'm not teaching Schiffmann yoga, I'm teaching freedom yoga. And freedom is sort of redundant. It's just yoga. Conscious union with the infinite being expressed through you. Sometimes doing poses, sometimes sitting quietly, most of the time just walking through your life, driving down the road.
Guru Om Bhakti Guru Om.
But also what I liked about Iyengar, like with his precision of alignment, was that it was awareness training. He would shout at me to draw my kneecaps up in Trikonasana. 5 seconds later, he's shouting at me again. I thought they were still up. Erich, what? You speak English? So like him busting me, it's like, oh yeah. And then I realized, it's not so much about having your kneecaps up all the time, which I sort of thought was the message. Oh, your kneecaps should always be up. Your hands should always be just like that. No, that's just one option. But if you could do that and get into it, then you'll start feeling how to morph it. And so I think strict alignment is really cool also. So trying to bust people on, kneecaps up, do it just right. Because if you can draw skillfully, then you can begin to freeform skillfully. And just another interesting thing about this is before I was including a freeform chapter in my classes, there were always people that were wanting to do their own thing. And that sort of bugged me. It bugs most teachers. Why aren't they listening? Why are they But once I started including the freeform chapter, and sort of saying also that the guided chapter is important to suspend your preferences and practice, Simon says. Practice listening to the teacher for these few moments. And then knowing that they can cut loose in just a few minutes, people were more willing to obey during chapter 3. And it's good to sort of like rein yourself in and like practice following the human teacher's instructions. You get clued in on whatever their understanding is about alignment. Different styles, different teachers have different understandings. Just go to whoever you like, just learn something. And then increasingly realize that no matter what anyone is saying, what they're saying is just one specific option or choice of that main variable. And just start, so like on this hands and knees things, when we go down and up and down and up, what I'm trying to say is that these are the options and choices at this main variable. Sometimes here, sometimes here, sometimes here. So you teach people what the notes are. Make a good note, make a good note. Like get clean on the notes, and then encourage people to start playing with the notes and like making up their own poses, just like the original people were doing. But the original people were channeling them. You'll find that happening to you. You'll just be following a line of energy, and suddenly you're in a new shape. And say, hey, this is cool. I've invented a whole bunch of poses that aren't in the books. I'm still surprised. I keep seeing new poses. But again, it's not so what if you're like super bendy? It's more like you just want to be comfortable. You want to be as pain-free as possible. And so don't feel like you've got to push your asana practice out there, out there, out there, out there, out there. Just do enough so that you feel good. Mine's way at an easier level than it used to be. And I'm feeling better than ever. And part of it was just letting go of what I thought I was supposed to do, what everyone was recommending. My back used to hurt a lot. But I was doing the bendy back bends. You just want to feel good. My main thing is I just want to be able to sit in lotus comfortably and sit erect. That's my main thing. If I lose big back bends, I don't care, but I want to be able to sit in lotus. I like sitting in lotus to meditate. I don't always sit in lotus when I meditate, but I like being able to do it. It's nice to just tie your legs and park. It's easy to sit straight. When you're straight, it's then easy to relax. If you can sit straight and then just relax, you'll stay totally straight. Whereas if you're sort of slumped and you relax, you get more and more into a puddle.
Guru Om, Bhakti Guru.
Online. That's an easy concept, right? And I mentioned already, any awakened one, whether they're incarnated or not, is is still somewhere. When someone leaves Virginia, they don't get extinguished. When someone passes on, they don't disappear. They're still totally who they are wherever they are. Death is a fake. Death means the extinguishment of being. There's no such thing as the extinguishment of being. There's life only. Now, I would really recommend and I like talking about it as being online because it's just easy to instantly hook up. It's easy to realize that you're already hooked up. Okay, but if you do have a favorite awakened one, practice talking to them. You probably already know who it is. If you don't have a favorite awakened one, keep the internet concept in mind, and what I would recommend, there's a practice that has 4 steps to it. What started happening to me was, well, you'll get insights about things. When you're sitting quietly, when you're doing yoga, when you're going for a walk, sort of when you least suspect it, you'll get an insight. The universe will give you a new knowing about something. Write it down. And I would suggest that you actually do it as a practice. If you like to type, sit at your computer and do it. Do automatic computing. At first I couldn't do it on my typewriter, computer. I had to have a pen and paper. Something about the pen and paper was slow enough, and it made me stay focused enough to where I could keep hearing the message coming through. The 4 steps on this are: 1, you sit quietly and you practice becoming still. Sort of like a normal meditation. Just do whatever technique that you like to get still and relaxed in. Conscious immobility. The second step is to sort of mentally express your desire to talk to whoever your spiritual guide is. Whether you believe in it or not. If there's really anybody out there, would you please speak up? Just sort of say something like that. I don't really know if it's true. I don't really know if it's not true. And if you don't know if it's true or not true, then don't be so insistent that it's not true. Be open to, well, maybe it's true. God, what if? Sit quietly, become still, and then mentally express your desire to talk to whoever your guide happens to be. Just sort of say, are you out there? Is there anybody in here really? And then step 3 is just practice listening. Sort of like you're talking on the phone. Hello? And then listen. And step 4 is expect an answer. And the way I practice expecting an answer is I have the notebook, I have the pen, I have my computer, I have a little tape recorder, just in case. And what I've discovered is that, wow, there's more going on than I thought. You'll find yourself getting spiritual teachings that are specific to your need. Stuff that you just, exactly what you need to know. Write it down. I'll write it down and I'll be thinking, this is just so easy. What's so big deal about this? I get sort of cavalier about it. And then I read it later, or like years later, and I think, whoa, why didn't I take that more seriously? I didn't make that up. I was plugging in. So practice plugging in, practice asking for teachings, and then write it down. Just type it out. Talk it into the tape recorder. I carry a little tape recorder with me all the time now. You get insights when you least expect it. And if you practice sort of deliberately inviting it, I think you'll find it happening more. And it's cool when it starts happening. I'm sure it happens to everybody anyway. But like more and more and more. So that you get spiritual teachings pertinent to your need. Better than any book you'll find. Become still. Mentally express your desire to talk with your guide, if there is such a thing. Listen. Do the Milarepa. And expect an answer. Homework, should you choose to accept it. I think you'll like it if you give yourself the freedom, the permission to do it.
Guru Om, Bhakti Guru.
The one that you'll do the most is, should I go left, should I go right, should I wear this shirt, should I wear the other shirt? Should I have this much salad or this much salad? You're going through mental processes about it anyway. Should I have the carrots, should I have the celery, should I have the vegan tofu dressing? That's my preferred dressing. So most of the time you'll be doing it on mundane stuff. But then, sort of like in a more concentrated way. And if there's something that's bugging you in your life that you know you need clarity about, just sort of, okay, I'm sort of ready. What do I really need to know? Don't make it too hard. So just both. It'll work together so seamlessly.
Guru Om, Bhakti Guru.
When you even now think of her, and we're all thinking of her right now. I don't know her, but I'm, you know what I mean? But she's in here, and I can sort of go, oh, I don't know her. But I do know that anyone that exists is the holy son or daughter of the life principle. Really, no matter what it looks like. And therefore I can sort of begin to address her with that understanding in my mind.
That was actually really huge. So that was huge. But then sometimes, with total respect, but sometimes you make it sound so simple.
It is simple, but it's not easy. All due respect, I understand. Part of my job is to make it seem doable. It's hard. I know it's hard. But not doing it is harder. Therefore, this is a hard thing that's worth working at. Not doing it is harder. Suffering is a hard path. It works, but it's hard.
Thank you, light bulb.
Guru Om Bhakti Guru.
So she's asking whether to plan classes or not. What I would vote for, what I would recommend, or what I have done, what works for me, I'm all into this, the woo-woo intuitive, so to speak. But I think it's important, especially for new teachers, and even for older teachers, go in with a plan. Think about it in advance. Sort of like, think about it a lot. Like, how does this transition into that? How does this transition into that? Think about it. Plan it out. Sequence it. And then when you're in there doing it, because if you've got it sequenced out in your mind, you'll go in with enough peace of mind, because you can always just like surf the plan. You'll have enough peace of mind that it'll just be clear to you to go, oh, at this point where I thought we were going to go this way, just change it up. And so give yourself freedom to start changing it up from your intuitive centered place in the middle of the class. But, like, I still think about it in advance. I think it's cool. It's fun to think about it. I think it's more responsible to think it out and then be intuitive along in the midst of that. Was that?
Yeah, that's great. We're doing that.
And most teachers, when they say they don't plan it out, I sort of wince. It's like, and especially for your students, consistency is important. Doing the same thing a lot is really important. Just not always just mixing it up. Teach the same thing a lot, go over it a lot, go over it, go over it, go over it, so they get really familiar with it. And then encourage them, oh, you're so familiar with it, now get into the linger, adjust it, flow with it, change it, so that out of the familiar thing that they do begin to mix it up.
Thank you.
And what I do is, for years, I would write down before class what I thought I was going to do, sort of what I intended to do. So I had like a before class plan. And then I'd go teach the class, and when I got home, I'd write down what we actually did. Which might be similar, but it might be real different. But then I got a sense of, oh, this is what I'm actually doing. And then the next class I would sort of teach that. So years of notebooks of what I thought I was going to do, what I actually did. Don't be afraid to be repetitive, especially as you start doing more freedom and intuitive stuff. I intuitively change what I think I was going to do based on the energy I'm confronted with in the room. And I go into a class and I teach basically what I feel like doing. If I'm in a backbend mood, we do backbends. If I'm in a forward bend mood, we do forward bends, and I apply it to the people that happen to be there. But I just found that I teach it better if I'm in that mood. And so when I'm in the class then, teaching back bends because I'm in that mood, and yet the distress psychosphere is in the air, then I've got to maneuver it in a way so that it feels right to me and applies to everybody. I think that made sense. So from my perspective as the leader, sort of my compass is I just keep doing what's feeling right to me. That's the only way I know that I'm on the beam. And if I'm in a group doing what's feeling right to me, then it seems to work the best that way. It's appropriate here, it's appropriate here. I'm not in my own zone, only doing what I want to do, but I'm sort of merging with the room, and so like that. And it's cool that all you've got to do is just keep doing what's feeling right to you in that circumstance. Trust and be brave. And you'll find yourself saying things in a way that you might not have said if everyone was in a happy mood, or if everyone was in a distressed mood. And yet we're all doing back bends, and I'm just doing what's feeling right. Anything else? Yes.
Guru Om Bhakti Guru
Yeah, I mean, that is the dilemma that we're all confronted with. My advice is go to the places that you feel have an affinity for. Just what I said a moment ago was just learn something. If you like Ashtanga, do Ashtanga. If you like integral, do integral. Just learn something that you like and sort of just get it. Oh yeah, it's not shadow yoga, but it's this. You know, and this is the one I like. Just do something that you like. And do it, and do it, and do it, and do it, and do it. And eventually, at a certain point, no matter what style you're coming from, as you get into it more and more and more, it'll start becoming intuitive. And so Ashtanga will become Ashtanga free. Iyengar will become Iyengar free. And then it'll be like you doing your yoga. I've studied with many different styles, and it was confusing because each one I was sort of had my allegiance to that. And at a certain point, like I'd been studying the Desgachar style for a number of years when I first started, and then I switched to Iyengar style. And Iyengar was going to give me a certificate, you know, sort of. This was like way back. This was like in the early days of certificates. And the people in London said, we know that Mr. Iyengar said to give you a certificate, but we know that you also have studied with Desgachar. We think you teach cocktail yoga. I didn't quite know what they meant, but it was cocktail yoga, sort of a mixture of things, I guess. And then I realized, oh, right, okay. Actually, I don't want to be certified because there's certain things I learned from Vonda that I want to incorporate. Certain things I learned from Desi Guitar are like, yeah. And I love this, but I don't want to like eliminate things. And then I realized, yeah, I don't want to be certified. I want to just like, so I'm not certified. But just like do whatever you like, and like try different teachers. And if you're getting hurt, just know that yeah, something about what you're doing. You're not supposed to get hurt. It's not smart. I've gotten hurt way too many times. You know, thinking that if I can just get this pose, everything will be okay.
Guru Om Bhakti Guru.
A living human teacher, no. Bella. I mean, in that sense, no. But I've had a lot of human teachers, and it seems like the teaching has helped put me in the place where what the thing really to do is just be online. And then it's sort of, you're online, that's everything I've been trying to say. You're online already. You are connected to the infinity of mind. All you got to do is like let go of what you think and just listen more. And then you find yourself knowing. And in a sentence, I would capitalize the word knowing, capital K. You find yourself knowing. Yeah.
Guru Om Bhakti Guru.
I'm new to yoga, and I came from dancing, so the kind of freedom the way you talk to me just resonates as dancing.
Yeah, right.
And I don't have the vocabulary of yoga, so I'm trying to, and once again, do you see a difference? And it's just
Not
movement?
really, not really. Yeah. Yeah. I think dancers are really in there with it. Yeah, yeah. And many people have said that to me, that their yoga practice gets more dance-like. Whereas at first I would go, no. Yeah, but again, like if the energy wants to flow through you, that's exactly what you should do. And that is the origin of dance. Joy expressed. And it's all meditation. Listening as lifestyle. All the time. It's cool to get clear on this.
Guru Om Bhakti Guru.
I think being able to do that is really helpful, yeah. I haven't done it much myself lately, but I used to be a big a sister in that sense. I think being able to help somebody in that way is really important. Iyengar was really skillful at that. I remember like one adjustment in particular, I was doing dog pose, and he came behind me, and he had long fingernails at that point. And like my legs were here, my butt was here, my torso went down. He stood behind me and he went, with his fingernails, he went, to sort of indicate that the action was for the pelvis to rotate that way, the sitting bones to lift or whatever. And I'm sure he was saying words. I'm sure he was shouting about something. But what I remember, what got engraved was that little movement. He went and like that, to lift and spread like that. And so be attentive when you're adjusting somebody. You're communicating in a real intimate way and in a way that says more than you might think. When you reach in to touch somebody, sort of enter their aura slowly. Be aware of like you're touching them already. You may not even have to actually touch them. You could just like spin the energy and they'll get it. You can even just look at somebody and spin it. But when you do touch them, like, be aware of your hand touching them and like, merge, don't attack, be loving. It's a deep communication. I think it's a really good skill. I think it's a good thing to do. Don't overdo it, don't put people into things that they can't really maintain, would be my vote. But like to help somebody like feel the truth of what's there and to help them feel the energy. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Guru Om Bhakti Guru
Well, more of lifestyle. The yoga's lifestyle. Lifestyle is how you do your thing all the time. The new now that you're always in. And the lifestyle is just online listening. So if people just kept hammering on that more, I think that's cool. Sort of simple to say finally. But you're always doing something. It's not just about what you're doing with your body. It's not just how you eat. But all the time, like all the time. Lifestyle, how you do your thing. GPS on. You are connected. You don't have to make yourself connected. Just sort of be attentive. Think less, listen more. Push that just over and over and over until everyone's so clear that it's like, oh yeah, that's what it's about. Yoga means conscious unity with infinity. And when you start experiencing your conscious unity with infinity, it'll just be you listening and giving expression to what you find yourself knowing. So in terms of more, I would vote for the more of that. And if people are doing more of that, they'll naturally be doing less of whatever else it is. But I would tend towards emphasize that more, and then whatever is not that will be starved of energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just, as you're saying this, I'm just thinking, and we are examples of how that's resonating, how important that message is to be, because I was thinking, hey, are the people ready for that? Well, I mean, look at us, you know, so I would say, yeah.
Yeah.
The people are ready for it.
Yeah. And we're at a new time on the planet. Everybody's waking up to this. And if it's where you're at, then that's what you should be emphasizing. Even in the face of psychospheric resistance.
Thank you.
Because if you're consistent with it, finally, whoever keeps showing up will start hearing it enough, and oh God, she really does believe that. Oh, sounds sort of flaky, but oh, yeah, that's not so flaky. Conscious unity with infinity, that's totally practical, actually. It didn't make sense, it just sounded like a bunch of words. But it's like, oh wow, no, actually conscious unity with infinity as being the already existing fact. And your job is to relax, because if you're not relaxed, you're tensing up against the all. And as you relax, then the all will guide you about how to do and be with your psychospheric resistant friends.
Guru Om Bhakti Guru.
You just talked about it being a time where we're all, like more people are waking up.
Totally.
So I was just wondering if you would talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, we're on the planet at a significant moment. The world is waking up to unity consciousness. The fact that we're all here together. Tribal mentalities are giving way to the fact of, oh, there's only one tribe, really. Oh. And technology and the internet and all the communications are helping foster that realization. We're alive at such an exciting point. Get excited. Live this to the best of your ability. Don't just feel like you're doing time. Wait till you get out of here. This will be over soon. But like you're in the middle of the ultimate, it's sort of do your duty.
Guru Om Bhakti Guru.
So you live and learn. You know what I mean? That's what it is. You live and learn. You live and learn, and you learn to be online. And you learn that you are online, and so it's just a matter of think less and listen more. Again, that's what it is. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Guru Om Bhakti Guru. Your sanctuary. I'm finally free.
We're in the middle of the awesome movement of life, thinking that we're in a temporary world on the way to somewhere better, blinded to it. You're in the middle of the ultimate. I mean, where'd you think you were? Oh, you mean like right here? Oh, you mean like right now? You mean like life live?